This is the day that the Lord hath made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. I was thinking this morning about this letter, about this section. We're going into the letter Dalet. We're going into this section in our Psalms 119, 25 through 32. And I'm just praying that we find a way to walk through this Dalet, walk through this door into another dimension, another way of seeing our lives, another way of being closer to our Father, another way of walking this life out the way that Yeshua did, the way that we can be his words, his hands, his feet. So Father, I just pray right now, I submit my words. I submit this time. I thank you that your word is already consecrated and it's so powerful. I thank you for every woman that's here and every woman that's going to be listening later. We just ask you to bless them. Bless them, Father. Bless this time, Father, and I ignite your word in our hearts. Enlarge our hearts. That's part of our prayer this week has been, Father, that you would enlarge our hearts. Thank you, Father. Amen. Well, I'm going to share my screen and do this fun part. Oh, you hear my doggy. Yay, Gracie here. Let the sunshine in. All right. Sorry, we're in the Dalet. Is this cute? Can I just find some more cute pictures? Oh, look at that ram. Fun. Okay, let's read. Who wants to open their mic up and read for us? Carol, are you able to do it? Are you driving?
I can.
Oh, go ahead.
My soul clings to dust. Revive me according to your word. I told of my ways, and you answered me. Teach me your statutes. Help me discern the way of your precepts, so I may meditate on your wonders. My soul weeps with grief. Make me stand firm with your word. Turn me away from your deceitful ways, and be gracious to me with your Torah. I have chosen the way of faithfulness. I have set my heart on your judgments. I cling to your testimonies. Adonai, do not put me to shame. I run the course of your mitzvot, for you open wide my heart.
Do you guys feel? I just feel the emotion of that. Every time I've read it, I just feel like my heart automatic. I get a little like thing in my throat, like, oh, Father. And I also feel I can almost feel for David because we see some things that he struggles with and you feel his struggle, but it's not just his struggle. Um, it's my struggle. I feel my struggle happening here in this. So the first part of 119 and this again we're talking about the letter Dalet that's attached to this and every single beginning of each line or stanza of this. Oh my gosh, how cute is this ram's little polka dotted legs? Um, sorry guys, each line starts with the letter Dalet. And the first section is he says, my soul clings to the dust. It clings to the dust. And I spent some time in that. I was like, Father, what does that mean? And as I looked into it, this has a couple meanings. One, it could just mean this is a near death. Like it can be like you feel like you're about to die. It's near death. Some of us have been in that position. Maybe it's been an illness. Maybe it can even be mental illness. Even if it's short-lived, even if it's a chronic mental illness. Sometimes you just feel like you are about to die. Like there's no quality of life that you would just rather not be here. Can we just be totally honest? To a place where we would just rather not be here, that this world would be better off without us. Or it's just so hard. I'm just done and I'm tired. And sometimes I think in our walk, we're too afraid to say those words out loud, like, oh my gosh, I'm thinking about not being here because we don't want to, is that suicidal? Not that you have a plan, but you might. I mean, but we can talk that through. It's not this forbidden topic that we couldn't talk about. I want to talk about those things that maybe sometimes no one's talking about. And it can be sometimes we can fear near death or just be praying to die. God, I don't want to be here anymore. I'm done. This is hard. Whether it's physically, whether it's mentally, whether it's emotionally, spiritually, it's just hard. And do you feel it? He's clinging to the dust. And in that, it's kind of the metaphor of being, from dust to dust. We say your body going to dust. It can also mean humiliation. We know David went through some stuff, right? And there's some times even in my life, and I don't know about yours, where you have felt to that place where maybe you've gotten to that place where you were like feeling like you were sucking dirt, like you were humiliated. The way that this just happened was humiliating. And I, you might be praying to die. It's just pretty bad. And then he asks for life and he asks for vitality to be restored. But he's super specific that he wants it according to the word. And I put this in here because a lot of times when we get to that place where we're like, you know what? I'm at the end, I'm exhausted, I'm tired. What we have a tendency to do a lot of times is then do things in our own strength, right? We have a tendency to come up with a new plan. Okay, well, now what I'll do, and I'm going to just share my current situation. Okay, I'm physically feeling like, man, this is just not quality of life. I have got to make some changes in my life because this hit me hard this week, and I'm going to be very vulnerable. I am tired. My body's tired. I'm exhausted physically, meaning my physical health. So instead of doing what David does and saying, Father, I need vitality. Father, restore me in your word. According to your word, do well. Can I just be honest? That is not where I went. Where I went to is, well, I need to start intermittent fasting. I need to drink more water. I need to start doing some stretching. I need to get some exercise in. I need to get some more vitamin D. I started coming up with my plan. And I think we have a tendency, if we think about the from beginning of a year, like a New Year's resolutions, like we're like, we might, oh, I didn't do very good this year. I might be sucking dirt, right? I might be eating the dust. And I'm like, I'm going to do better this year because I'm not going to be stand at the beginning of a new year and say, oh my gosh, I still weigh this, or oh, I still haven't gotten control of this, or I still haven't done this. But we don't do this and we don't say, Father, I want vitality. I want life. I want it to be restored in me, but I want it to be specific. I want it to be according to your word. I want what you want. And then what he does, I'm going to have to move hold on. I'm going to move some stuff because I can't see. Here we go. um then he says, revive me according to your word. So what is when does revival happen? So I grew up in a very often share it with you guys, very Pentecostal, very charismatic. So we would have revivals. When I traveled as an evangelist, I would preach at revivals. I was preaching revivals. I was bringing everybody to Jesus, and I did it, and I was on the stage. I mean, I was get right or get left, and it was like a full-on revival happening. And that was my understanding of it's a revival. But what happens with a revival is actually having it's when you have totally reached that bottom. And again, depressed, deflated, hopeless. Then we look for those quick fixes. But what we need to do is we need to pray for our soul to be repaired. And that is the revival. You know, it's you think about being revived back to life. I think about someone who's being maybe given CPR, and then all of a sudden they take that big breath, or you know, if they've especially if they've drowned, and all of a sudden they're coughing up the water, and you guys got the picture, right? Or maybe they got the paddles out and they jolt them and they're revived. Because a lot of us sometimes might be so far down, or we might be sometimes we get into those places of depression and hopelessness. And I've been there, so I don't want anyone to take this as being minimized. So I know that it's hard, and sometimes you need medical help in this area. Sometimes you need medication. I just want to put that out there. Sometimes you get so deep down, sometimes you need a little mud in your eyes. Sometimes you need some medication for a short period of time so that you can have it's kind of like if someone's diabetic telling them they don't need insulin. You know, having a serious issue with depression can mean there's a chemical imbalance so that your neurons aren't receiving the information they're supposed to receive. So that can be a situation. So know that I do encourage you to seek medical help. However, we have to start with saying, Father, revive my soul. We don't go straight to that quick flesh fix. Like, oh my gosh, now I'm going to drink a shake, 3 shakes a day, and I'm going to have a snack, and that's my quick fix, right? That's how I'm going to make things better. Or my life is super chaotic. Now, there's one thing about having plans and strategies, but not if it's the first thing. The first thing is, Father, would you repair my soul? Because I need repair and I need revival. And I don't know about you, but I started thinking about this. Why don't I do this every single morning? Why do I even get to a place where I'm so far down? Why am I not crying this out to God every morning? Father, And we'll talk about the next thing. We'll talk about this. I'm going to submit my ways, but would you repair my soul? Because I'm sure it got battered up yesterday, especially if you're out in the fight. If you're out doing what you need to be doing for the Father, you're in the fight, even if it's just in your home and with kids. And I mean, that alone right there, you're tattered and torn. Father, would you repair my soul? We see that God uses his word to bring that revival, because sometimes we're like, well, how are we going to get the revival? Well, through his word. Well, that seems simple. But what would happen if we started to if we I don't know about you, but when I have an issue with depression, or if I've had an issue with anxiety, I've walked through all those things, and thank you, Father, been delivered. But what I couldn't do is read. When people are like, well, read the word, sister. You know what? I want to, no, I can't. I can't hardly lift my head off my pillow. The last thing I'm going to do is be reading, because I'm reading it and all I'm hearing is wah, 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 wah. It's nothing to me. But what I could do is I could put headphones on, and before I'd go to bed, turn on someone reading the word to me and let it wash over me and reminding me who I was. And then I would begin encouraging myself in the word. I mean, we know this, to encourage ourselves in the word. Someone look that verse up for me real quick. Encouraging yourself in the word. So what he does is he asks for life and vitality to be restored, but he's super specific about what he wants according to the word. He's not saying I want it according to, okay, here's what I need. I need to be able to do 35 more things, and I also want to weigh this much, and I want to do this, and this is how I want you to do it. And can you back up my plan? And I think that goes with everything in our life, right? Instead, he's saying, revive me according to your word. All right, I think I doubled this one. Here we go. So one of the things he says is to arise. So the word is kum. And I wanted to put this on here because I just wanted you to have the visual. He's like, arise, strengthen me. I want to strengthen me is actually, this word is to arise. I want to arise. I'm going to get up. And the number one thing out of this I want you to see from this word in this is that it's to change your position. Because sometimes when we're in a position, when we are in a, whether we're hopeless or whether we're in fear or whether we're stressed, frustrated, let's list all the negative things. Sometimes it's as simple as to get up, to just get up, change your position. Because we get in the middle of a position. And I was talking to someone one time, and they were struggling in this area. And I said, you know what? Sometimes what happens is we get into our pit. We'll talk about depression for a minute. We get into a pit maybe of depression or hopelessness or despair. And when you're in that pit, it's one thing to be in the pit. It's another thing to start decorating in there and like saying, okay, well, I guess I'll stay and I'll just like put my pictures here, and so I'll put my bed, and this is where I live now, instead of looking for a way out. And the way out would be, Father, how do you encourage me? I need to arise. I need to change my position. I need to get up. I need to look around. I need to see things from a different perspective. Another word is when he starts going on, he says, I want you to teach me your ways. And which is kind of nice, because we talk about ways is actually starts with the Dalet, like your ways, the Derek. It's the word is Derek. The root of that is Darak, and it's to tread with your feet or to trample. And Father, where my ways, I'm going to submit my ways to you. Where have I been? Where am I? And where am I going? Because that I need to submit those things to you. And there's so many verses, and I would love for you spending those times and saying, Father, I'm going to submit my steps, right? You're going to order my steps, but I'm submitting them to you to order them instead of trying to do it myself. Father, you're the one who directs my path. I'm not the one who directs my path. So thank you, Father, that I don't have to worry about my path because you direct my path. And then he continues on, and he starts praying for strength. He asks for the word to strengthen him. And there's the word kum again, to strengthen, to get up, to rise up, to strengthen himself. And then when he says, remove me from the way of lying. Well, can someone look up 1 Samuel 21:2-8? If they have a Bible real quick, I want someone to read that for me. 1 Samuel 21:2-8. And just unmute and start reading. You got it. You would think I would have tagged that for myself here. Anyone got it? 1 Samuel 21. Not you, Sarita. I see you're driving, so don't do that. For those of you who have books like the that have it in the order of the Tanakh, it takes a little getting used to find your stuff because it's a
I
deep.
have it.
You have it. Go for it, sister.
All right. 2 and 8, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Um, David went to, 1 Samuel 21, correct?
Mm-hmm.
David went to Nob to Ahimelech the Conan. Ahimelech was afraid to meet David, so he said to him, "Why are you alone and no one with you?" That's verse 2, 8. Now one of Saul's servants was there that day, detained before Adonai. His name was Doeg, the Edomite, chief of Saul's shepherds.
I must have wrote the wrong one. It might be Second Samuel. Anyways, we'll go back. David struggles with lying. There's a thing that David has a struggle with. So let me try Second Samuel. Did I write the wrong thing? Anyone can teach this class. Just volunteer. Okay. Well, I wrote the wrong thing. So I will come back up. I'll find those for you because um I want to give you guys some examples just from David because David had a struggle about lying, about what he's doing. And so it looks like he says, remove me from the way of lying. Now, you know what? A lot of times we don't want to admit the fact that we have an issue also, like David. I mean, this is a man after God's own heart, and he struggles with lying. And what does lying mean? I'm gonna stop here for just a second. I want us to stop sharing for a second. I kind of want to open discussion a little bit about this. Tell me what you feel. I want some input on what is lying to you. Like what? I know it sounds silly. It sounds tiny, but could it be
I can
something?
talk.
Yeah, go for it.
So, I see it as probably because it's like either not telling the full truth about something or holding back parts of the truth about something, and then just outright just not telling the truth about what you're doing in the first place. So sometimes you can say, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna go do this," but you don't tell like maybe even like your motive for it. Like what sometimes there might be a motive behind that you don't want to expose, it'll look bad or whatever.
Right.
So, or you're doing it and maybe you don't really want to do it, but you're going to do it anyway because you know it'll make you look good. I'm like, I don't even want to do this. So, like, yeah, I have struggled with that. So it's like, I have to stop and say, okay, why am I doing this? Is it what Yah wants me to do? Okay, then I need to have my heart right with it. Either with coming into, yeah, I do want to do this, or coming into, yeah, I don't really want to do this. I want to have a alignment of my heart and whatever I'm doing so that I'm not being false in my action.
I love that. Not being false in your actions and aligning your heart with something. So in when we see this happening, for me, I'm going to tell you, I have struggled most of my life with lying. And am I a liar? No. But have I struggled with it? Yes. Because what I've had to do is bring it under submission. And what it was it? Making a story better than it really was. So someone would laugh, adding a couple little details just to make it a little funny, and having to catch myself and go, wait, that's not really how that story went. Over exaggerating something, that's a lie. And I caught myself when I submitted this, and I really spent some time in submitting this to the Father years ago. I realized how much I lied all the stinking time. And I mean, this is going to be Charlie's confession day because seriously, if when you go through and every single word is in alignment and I'm committed it and I'm making sure the words out of my mouth, which will, when we talk about Dalet, they are alive. They are alive. They bring things into action. They never go away. They are eternal. So we bring out some things, and it, like I said, it might be something maybe to not hurt someone's feelings. Maybe when you're saying, how about if going to someone's house or someone wants to invite you over and you say, oh no, I have this and this, be very careful how you say you can't do something that you didn't just lie about why, instead of that you just didn't want to go. I don't mean you have to be ugly about it, but you can say, I have another commitment. And that other commitment might be sitting on your couch with your husband, but you can say, I'm sorry, I have another commitment, and you just leave it. Don't make up a big old story. But I know that we're tempted to do that. And what happens is we have these little lies going everywhere. Crystal just came on board, so she's got to talk. Go. Oh, no? You got something to say about lying?
Hey,
I want to
hey,
hear it.
Charlie.
Yes.
You were correct. It is for Samuel 21.
Okay.
But people should just read the whole chapter to see the story of David lying to the king.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. I
That's,
just,
that just goes to prove that if David will lie, we're all subject to it. I mean, people think that, oh, I'm not a liar. I'm not a liar. But really, if we're not truthful, then what's the opposite of it? We'll say, I'm not a liar. I'm not always truthful, but I'm not a liar. Well,
we just want to.
what's the difference? And I think we all struggle with it from time to time. Actually, there was a time in my younger life I struggled with it a lot. And I think it was because I felt inferior and insecure, and we have to exaggerate when we're not, when we're trying to fill a void that is lacking. We sometimes, I think that we reach for falsehoods in order to make us feel better than what we really are.
It can be as simple, Crystal, as sometimes I'll catch myself and I will correct. I go, oh my gosh, we got there, and I know, I'm going to be honest. I'll say like, I swear there was like 35 cars. There was 3, and I'm like, wait, that's an exaggeration. I need to correct that quickly before that is like rooted in heaven and earth there, that swear. that is no, there was 3 cars, but it felt like 30. Or I was waiting for a 2-hour, I was on the phone with the bank for 35 minutes. It was 15. It felt like 35 minutes. So I'm correcting myself. I still correct myself because I'll find myself, especially if I'm very emotional, whether excited, frustrated, whatever the emotion is, I'll find myself exaggerating little things. And I realize that's a habit. And I just have to catch it. It's not that I don't think, oh my gosh, I'm horrible and I'm beating myself up about it, but it's a habit. And I want to encourage you. This is when we hear David crying out here saying, you know, change me and fix me. We're right along there with him, right?
We are. And don't we lie to ourselves even? Sometimes we don't
Oh,
even know when we tell lies because we're so busy lying to ourselves because we don't want to uncover those things that we need to stir up and dig up within us. So we just lie to ourselves and keep burying it. And if we distort the picture, even if it's a picture that we paint for ourselves, we're not telling the truth.
ouch, right? We've distorted the picture, even if, I mean, we even if it's the truth and we've distorted the picture in some way, it's still a lie. Sarita, did I see you put your little hand up?
Yeah, I actually, there's 2 verses that I've memorized over the years because of my mouth, just in general, because I talk a lot, and then also because of the issue. But one is, I think it's Psalm 141:3. It says, "Set a guard over my mouth. Oh yeah, keep watch over the door of my lips." And then the other one, I can't remember exactly where it is, but it says, "Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight. Oh yeah, my rock and my redeemer." So those are
Yes.
verses that I've memorized, and they popped up in my mind as you were talking. I'm like, yeah, I need to start quoting those more often again because I've been emotional. I've been traveling. I've been really tired, and my mouth is running, and I'm like, I just shut my mouth.
Yeah. Yep. And we get to that place where let our yes be yes, our no be no. Okay, well that's simple, but that I have these things. I'm gonna have we lost your vocals there, Sarita, so I'll mute you for now. So we have to have our yes is yes and no. Someone pop into the chat the verse there for the door, because isn't that perfect for today, right? We're talking about the Dalet, which is the door, that we have a verse that he is put in guard our mouths, the doorway to everything, right? Let's just, these might be the windows to our soul, our eye, our little peep holes, but our mouths are the door, right? We need to make sure that what's coming out and that we're breathing into this planet and lasting forever is truth. All right. And not exaggerated and in alignment with who he is. All right, let's get back to here. So praying for strength, the word strengthens me, and we have that kum again. And we got there. And then he says he starts low in the dust. And then after he started out in the beginning of this low in the dust. And then after confessing, he says, I confess all my ways. And then I want you to teach me your ways, which is, it's kind of cool. We see this picture of a relationship. He's saying, I'm confessing all my ways to you, my comings, my goings, who I am, what I am. And I think it's kind of funny. It's like God doesn't know, like you have to like tell him. But I feel like this is really an example where this is a template for us saying, oh no, this is a part of confession about this ascension, right? This is the way we ascend into the presence. We hear Yeshua telling us about that, about submitting all of our debts and confessing our sins. We're supposed to confess this. So this is a confession just of like, Father, this is what I've been doing today. And I don't know if this is the right way because I kind of feel, and this is what I'm doing now, and this is what I'm planning to do. And then asking, teach me your ways. Teach me to do it your way, Father. Can you imagine your child coming to you and saying, this is what I've been doing. This is what I'm kind of doing right now. This is what I'm planning to do. This is where things are going. So I just want to lay that all out for you because I really feel like it's not right. Can you teach me how to do it right? Can you imagine you saying, nope, sorry, do it on your own? Absolutely not. And where do you get that? From the good Father who's going to be, of course I'm going to teach you. Of course I will. So he starts low in the dust. And then after he confesses and then he chooses to follow his ways, then he starts clinging. And then you see him running. And then his heart is enlarged, nata, which for an enlarging, he says, enlarge my heart. After he's running, now I'm running, I'm clinging, I'm running. And then he says, Father, enlarge my heart, nata, stretch it out, make it bigger, make me be able to hold more of you and more of your ways. And then we hop into the word Dalet, which for this word, this letter, it's the letter which is actually the word for door. And things move from the door, they move in and out of doors, into portals, in and out of realms. I want to hear from you, and we're going to stop sharing at this point just again, is because I want to hear from you. What is it that you have learned about Dalet this week? Whether you watched our energizing the letter, the energy of the letters, or whether you read it on your own before Crystal goes. First of all, Crystal, would you give us a backstory on Gimel? Because let's get ready to jump into Dalet. You had some extra stuff you wanted to share about Gimel from last week.
Oh gosh, you put me on the spot, Charlie.
Yep. Oh, you know it.
Well, so, well, Gimel, Gimel is the essence of Hasad, which is kindness and truth. It's the acts of service. So Gimel is the part of God that shows his goodness and his kindness to people. And when we see Gimel, we see that God doesn't do bad things, and he's not a bad God. When we say it's all good, we mean it. God is all good. He cannot allow even bad things to be bad. We can perceive them as bad, but to God they're good, because even whatever the enemy means for evil, God turns it to good, right? And that's the Gimel, because the Gimel is the true essence of God. And Gimel stands for 3. It represents anything that's 3 in the scriptures. So the third day, the 3 patriarchs, the 3 pillars that the Torah's, the 3 pillars of the word. So the word stands on the Torah, divine service, and acts of kindness. So there's 3 pillars that we do. You know, the Gimel represents the 3 pillars that the word stands on. Gimel is, this is one of the things I read in the book, was that when people would visit Abraham, he would do 3 things. He would offer him food, drink, and escort. Okay. And I learned that good old Southern people, when they go outside, when you leave their house, they're going to go outside, they're going to stand, they're going to wait, they're going to wave till you get all the way down the street. And that's the escort version of the Gimel. Food, drink, and escort. And there was this sage who went to his teacher one time, and he was doing food and drink and hospitality, but his house burnt down. And so he went to his teacher and he said, why did it burn down? Because I gave food and drink. I practiced hospitality. And his teacher said, well, you didn't do Gimel. You didn't do the escort. You didn't journey with them for a little while. So Gimel also represents the journeying. And when you take the journeying out and you have the Aleph and the Shin for the food and the drink, it makes fire. So he didn't complete the whole process of hospitality by journeying with them. And I think this goes into Dalet so well, because the journeying and the Dalet all has to do with community. And I was telling you earlier this week, Charlie, you know, when you were like, what about the Dalet? The Dalet's community. I mean, we come together right here to learn the word of God, right? We do this Bible study, but in reality, we may be doing we may be coming together to say we're doing a Bible study, but we're really doing community. Bible study just happens. And it's all about community. And the Rooted Cafe is the Gimel to the three pillars. You know, it is the community. It is the pillar of journeying with our sisters.
I love that.
You know, so that's kind of what I got so far. I'm excited about the door and the Dalet, because when I see the Dalet, I think of, okay, I'm going to go a little nerdy on you for a minute. Is it okay?
Yes, jump it in.
Okay.
We're jumping into Dalet. So, and again,
So,
when you raise your hand or whatever, we know that you want Dalet stuff to talk about. So go ahead, keep going.
Doctor Who, have you ever heard of Doctor Who?
Yes.
You know, the TARDIS, it's bigger on the inside. That's the door. You know, when he says expand my heart, I see a TARDIS. Here's the Dalet. There's this little door, but you're going to walk into it and it's going to be bigger on the inside.
Oh my gosh, Crystal, let me just stop you there for a second. Do you know the ancient way that they wrote the Dalet looked like a upside down triangle with a line? So they said it was like female reproductive parts. So that's the what it looked like, the triangle with a line in the middle. And
Okay.
because it was an entry into something bigger,
Well,
like a
there you
womb,
go.
like a womb. It's a very feminine thing. So we'll get a little woo-woo on you guys, but it was about entering into an open thing like a womb that was much bigger.
That expands as it grows inside, you know, and births into us. Yes. Yes, because the more your heart expands, the more it grows, the more you are. And doesn't he birth visions from us on a regular basis?
Yes. And
He
that's what
gives
David
us.
was saying. He was saying, enlarge my heart, make this bigger. That's the Dalet, make it so that, yeah, I can birth more things.
Yeah, because he had to birth from his heart because he was a man. We birth from our wombs.
We get double for the trouble. We get our heart and our womb, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So
Yeah.
when it gets bigger, and the bigger it gets, then pretty soon it gets so big, it has to burst forth. It gets so big, it has to birth forth into the world and go. And are we not called to, you know, to create value within us so we can multiply it to everyone else? Are we not called to bring those words and those letters within us? Are they enter in through the door and we have so many doorways, and we call them gates, our eye gates, our ear gates, right? Our mouth gate, things that go in, things that come out. We have so many things that come in. What are we bringing in through our door and through our gates that is causing our heart to expand? Or are we bringing in toxins that's causing our hearts to diminish and to deteriorate? Are we feeding them colored Fruit Loops?
Red, which probably had red dye 40 in it. I just thought of that.
You know, but
Thanks. Yeah.
sorry, but you know, what are we bringing into our hearts through the Dalet, through the door? What Dalet, you know, is our door going into a TARDIS, or is it going into a closet? What is our gates producing?
I love that you just said that, going into our closet. So is the Dalet like also think about, I mean, we can talk about the obvious things that we've learned before and that you can look up on, you can Google and look up Dalet, but we want to talk to you about some things a little deeper here. Okay. So could it be that Dalet is like your prayer closet? When you go in there and it's this inner chamber and it's this gateway and a portal into this place that things are answered, where things are enlarged, where things are birthed.
And you'll find that when you go through that door, your prayer closet is actually your secret place. And then the word of God, he says, if you seek me, you will find me in the secret places. And so, but doesn't he stand at the door and knock? He's on the
Yes.
inside of our secret place. And when you go into that secret place and you think of a closet, God's closet is bigger than we can all. If I could just stay in his closet, that's
Yeah.
enough territory for me.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But did you know that Bob Sorgay wrote a really good book called Secrets of the Secret Place that talks about going into your prayer closet or having communion with him or going into the door through. He doesn't necessarily bring out the Hebrew perspective because he's not from a Hebrew perspective, but the Secrets of the Secret Place is just an amazing book that talks about how you enter into that door of the secret place and how you expand your heart, because it's out of that secret place that flow the issues of life.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's where you were talking before. You were talking before about Hesed, and it's and you guys are gonna, and everything can be pronounced all kinds of different ways. We can all pronounce it different. It doesn't matter. It's all this. It's yes. That's the answer. It's all right. So you have this camel. We've talked about this, loaded down with gifts, or this man carrying gifts from the house. We look at the story we've been building. This Abba creates the bait. The Aleph, the father creates this bait, this home. We talked about or even our planet being this home, or it could be he's preparing a home. Can yes, yes, and yes. All those yeses. It can be both places. And he's coming with gifts. It's loaded with gifts. So you have this man who's coming down, coming through gifts. And now we hit the door. And the door is where he's coming in this portal, this Dalet. The Dalet is saying, now I'm going to bring these gifts. And when you read all this stuff, like I have lots of books on all these little letters. This is one of my favorites. It's called, can you even read it? It's upside. Oh, because I'm doing the Book of Letters. It's a very Jewish book, so it actually opens from the correct way. No, I'm sorry. It opens up backwards for some of you. So it comes this way. We also have, I use this one, and I think I've put them in the beginning, Hebrew for Goyim. I use that because it goes through the letters. I like that one as well. And then the book she was referring to, and we put it, thanks Amanda, put it in the notes, is called The Wisdom in the Hebrew alphabet. I just got this book this week. So Crystal recommended it to me, and I just read through Dalet. Haven't gone back and read the other ones yet. Yeah, last night was able to get through those because I just got it like yesterday afternoon. And there's a lot of really great sources, but like I'm just going to read a couple things on some of these things. Some of this, I'm like, I don't get it. And now I'm excited because I need to get it. But they really tie Dalet and Gimel together. That was the reason why I wanted Crystal to go back and redo that, talk again about this Gimels, because they really tie that Gimel with the Dalet a lot. Okay, I was making sure there wasn't a hand up. So a lot of it is talking about this loving kindness, and the bringing this loving kindness in through this portal. That's redemption. That's redemption. So some of the things are saying, I was asking why the roof of the Dalet extends backwards a little to the right. So if you look at it, the roof of the Dalet is supposed to be like a tent with an open flap, the open tent flap. So why does the roof of this whatever, that's what they're talking about when I say this. Why does the roof of the Dalet extend backwards a little to the right in the direction of the Gimel, to teach us that the poor man, Dalet, must make himself available to the Gimel, the one who would lend his money? Nevertheless, the face of the Dalet is turned away, teaching the charity must be given in secret. A whole nother dimension of this is that this is representing giving. This Dalet, it's about giving to your Gimel. It's another lesson in this, not just the lesson of redemption, but it's the lesson of us, our loving kindness, our hospitality, our charity. The Hesed is more than just charity. It's about giving. It's about we look at 1 Corinthians 13. It's about, some versions will say charity suffereth long. Charity does these things. The thing about charity and giving, it's in silence. It's you are not wanting to bring shame to someone. So you'll do whatever it takes to not shame someone in your giving. And that's a whole nother dimension of the Dalet, is about this poor man. And it could be someone who's been very rich and lost all their money, and now they need restoration. But no matter where they're at on that spectrum, that Gimel, that person who's coming to bring this salvation, who's coming to bring something to a gifts that's loaded down, is coming in humility and coming in secret and not coming. So we look at Yeshua. He came with these gifts because we were poor in spirit. We were poor. We had lost everything. And he came loaded down, but he didn't come like, do, 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 I'm here. Well, there were big stars in the sky, but he came humble. So that's why they didn't receive him, was because he came humbly. He came as a gimel, and then the Dalet as coming through as the door, showing I'm the portal, and this is how you come in, and this is how you bring redemption. This is how you bring gifts. This is how you bring salvation. Does anyone have any thoughts before, because I could keep going on Dalet for a while. Does anyone have anything that they learned more about Dalet that they want to share? Maybe you watched the Discovering the Energy of the Letters, the Dalet. I do encourage you to go back and watch those. You have the 3 parts of it, and also it's going to give you flashcards if you want to take this a little deeper and you want to really learn this, so that by the time we get through the end of this, you're like, the alphabet, and when you see that Dalet, it's going to come alive to you. Crystal, do you have anything you want to share? So they hear a different voice.
That, when you see Gimel that's giving, right? And it's
Yeah.
out of his abundance, and you see the poor man in the Dalet. And there's actually a differentiation between charity and Hasad.
Mm-hmm.
And Hasad is the hands and feet. It's the actual opening of the door. It's the actually going out and seeking who actually needs, instead of just waiting there. The camel was walking and the door is opening. And these are actions. These are not being verbs. These are not, these letters have actions.
Mm-hmm.
When the poor man is standing there, the Dalet is standing there, this door, and he's needing, he's got his back turned, but he's reaching out. He's humbled.
Yeah.
He's humbled. He doesn't have the ability to come running up to the camel and say, hey, can you give me from your abundance? Can you give me from your abundance? But it's the gimel's job to seek out those that are needy, to find those who not only need to be given to, but need the hands and feet of God to help them do things. We sometimes see the Dalets, charity or Hasad, being, okay, there's an elderly widow in the church and they need an attic fan. They need a fan hung. That's the Hasad of the giving of the Gimel. They open the door, they go in and they do that service for her, the hands and feet, the Hasad. And our Father, man, isn't he actively seeking out our needs and giving to us in abundance?
Active. Yeah.
He wants us to ask. He says,
wait, is that the pressed down, shaken together, overflowing? This is he's full.
He's full.
He's full.
And he gives without us even asking. He gives. But if we ask, we get too. But sometimes he just gives because he knows our need. How can we be the person who knows somebody's need without them having to ask? What do we need? Community. We need to interact with community, because if we are not interacting with community, then people can't see our needs and we can't see the needs of others.
Oh, that's and I have a great example of that. Was it this time last year, or it's a little bit earlier? There was a need. We were in the middle of a conference, and literally my computer was going down, and the laptop broke, and it was like, are you kidding me? And I'm running the Rooted Cafe, which from my hotspot up until just like in February when we moved here, off hotspot on my phone and a laptop, and we were talking about it, and I was like, oh my gosh, everything fell apart. Literally by that afternoon, someone had sent me $800 and said, go buy a laptop. Went and got the laptop, and the next day had a laptop, because we were in community. Someone heard the need, they had the ability to fill the need, and it was taken care of. And I think a lot of us, Crystal, if we're honest on this, a lot of us have gotten burned because we've been in communities where everyone has been so needy. And sometimes we might be that person who's always in need. You need to if you're the person who's always in need, and maybe you feel like, I don't have a lot to give. What if you start asking the Father to enlarge your heart to show you how you can give, instead of saying, I can't, which in our house is a bad word. How can I? How can I? How can I give? I maybe not be able to give you money, but what I could do is I could come stay with your kids for a few hours so you have a break. That's what I could do. Or I could make phone calls for you. Or I could maybe teach your children on, do a Zoom with your kids if you're far away. You know what? I know science really well, but I can do a Zoom call with your children and teach them for a while to give you a break. If you just sit them in front of the computer, I'll teach and interact with them for a little while. There's things you can do, and he'll tell you, huh, Crystal? He'll tell you.
You can. And you said a key word there. There's people who have been burned, and so now they don't want to give. Being burned does not mean that you stop giving. It means that we reevaluate how you give. It doesn't
And
mean
sometimes I don't give, Crystal, because I'll see a need and I don't feel it because God's saying don't.
that's
He'll tell
right.
me don't, because for many reasons. One is he's wanting to be the provider in a different way. Second of all is because he's not wanting them to eat the bread of shame. That's the reason we don't give free memberships, is because that's the bread of shame, and that's not biblical. So what we do is we just say, hey, could you, fill in a little, here's some little things you could do, or a role, or, we have all kinds of things that people can do. We ask you to have to work for your food a little bit. Is that a good way to say it? But we
That's
don't want
good.
you eating the bread of shame. I mean, and that's the reason it's grace. I mean, because we could just be like, oh yeah, here we feel bad here, but then you wouldn't feel the the pride of like, oh no, this is my membership. That's when you give someone something, like I loved when they did have the real work for food sign. The sad part is when you told someone, hey, come on, I got some work you can do, and we can feed you, they wouldn't. No, I just wanted money. And sadly, they ruin, some people ruin, a few can ruin it for everyone. But
And
if you're in your closet, if you're praying, you're going to hear him and it's going to work. I have a really cool thing I wanted to read about this. I think,
and
did you
just
have,
one more thing, not
yeah,
all blessings are blessings. Not all blessings that we perceive to be blessings are blessings. Sometimes they're a stumbling block.
yeah,
Because we can mean it with the purest of heart, but it could be a stumbling block for somebody else. So we have to be very careful that we're not putting stumbling blocks in people's way and calling them blessings.
yeah. And we have to, on the flip side of that, we have to be careful that we're not wounded because someone didn't provide for us. We felt like others were supposed to fill the need, and that we put it out there and nobody responded. I promise you, if they were supposed to respond, no devil in hell could have kept that money from coming to you, or could have, but there was a reason that he put a block in there, and it wasn't the people, because there's a lot of times I've seen things and went, I had the ability to provide for that need, and he said no. So, which is
You were going to
hard.
read. You were going to read something.
Right. I was looking to see if anyone had a hand up. Okay. So again, now this is the Hebrew from Goyim, and it just says Dalet is 2/3 of a triangle. It's the vertical and the horizontal of a rectangle. Dalet is the word door. In fact, Dalet refers to the source of physical existence, to physical or mental reproduce sources and activities to form the dividing nature of material. Let's study out the word davar, which is the word for word. Okay. And a word, I actually think I did PowerPoints on this. So let me see if I can get back to sharing my screen. I might have something that I forgot to do. Start here. The Dalet, the word for door things. Okay, we got here. All right. So what does it take to enter the door? I always wanted to go back to Psalms 119 on this before I finished reading what I was doing. Going back to what does it take to enter that door? We're trying to connect this to 119, right? So we have to confess our ways, and then we walk in his ways, and asking him to enlarge our things. And I think, Crystal, you need to turn off your notifications or silence them. So I just wanted to give you guys, this is what the Dalet looks like if you didn't have a chance to look at it. So what they say is this extra, remember we had this extra thing. This is telling us that this pinpoint at this end shows clinging. We're talking about that gimel is coming in right from the back. Remember, we're reading Hebrew, not English. So it's coming in from the back here. That gimel, and that gimel's foot is coming out. And this, it says it's bent over as a beggar, showing supplication and humility. That Dalet is this door to life, is actually, let's go back. Yeah. is actually a place of humility, like we've been talking about. And then the word davar, which it just says, let's look into this a little bit. It means word, but it also can mean a thing. And that's the one thing in reading in this, it says that we have to remember that a word begins inside the mouth with knowledge or opinions. That's that word davar. And it starts with the word that davar starts with a dalet. That's the reason we're talking about it. And it moves through the mind's door to be born and have form forever. We've been talking about that, about what's coming out of our mouth, right? What are the words that are coming out of our mouth? We talked about lying, we talked about other things, but when we're forming words out of this door, it starts at our mind's door and then it's born. We talk about out of this womb, out of our mouth, it's coming out, and then it has a form forever. God created by speaking words, and by day 4, God had spoken the heavens, the earth, the sun, the moon into existence, and everything was then ready for the creation of birds, animals, fish, and God's special creation, mankind, similar to the way a child is born. Words move out from their source in God to become things. Notice that davar means word, and it also means things. All words, even spoken, actually, even just spoken a little bit, actually exist forever. Yikes. That's a sobering thought. So when you think of Dalet, think divide, dual, duplicate, double, diverge, decide, dissect. Dalet expresses the idea of basic life, a perpetual dividing process that issues form from an original source, as is the process in the continual division of cells. So we look at words like, we continue on, we look at words like dam, which is the word for blood. It's a division of cells. It's a thing that's small and then it's made big. It's a thing where it's an entry point and then it brings life. Just a quick thing, and this is I show you that you can go back in and look at this. I will download this in PDF. This just shows you where you can see the dalet at the beginning of each one of these lines in Hebrew, especially if you're new, if you're understanding. I don't understand where you're getting the dalet from out of Psalms 119, this section. In Hebrew, it's starting out. Each section starts with dalet, 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 dalet. So I wanted you to see that again. Oh, I think I'm done. Yay. And I will download that for you guys today. Any more on dalet from anyone? Anyone have anything else they want to share? I have a lot of words and stuff on dalet, but Crystal, you got anything else?
Well, the Dalet you see points towards the hay. And we were talking about it going back towards the Gimel. So now we're going to go the other direction.
Yeah.
And how it goes towards the hay. And what we learn from Dalet is that we may be reaching back for help, but we're leaning forward into the hay, into him. We're seeking him. Our face is turned towards him. Our direction is towards the hay for not next week, but 2 weeks from now. But our hay leans forward. We're not focused on those who are going to give to us. We're not focused on the people who have the abundance to bless us. We're focused on the hay, on him. He is our provision. He is our Jehovah Jireh.
We look at that. It's funny that we have the door and the next letter, hey, is going to be the window, right? The door is going to be, and then hey talks about a window being open in the tent. It's like a tent with a window open for revelation to come in. We talk about Isha. I'm excited. Hey is one of my favorite. Hey and Lamed are one of my favorite letters so far. That could change, but as of today, those are my 2 favorite letters. So I'm really excited. When we go through some of the other letters, I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. I feel like my kindergartner teaching her because I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this. And then I get in, I'm like, oh, this is kind of interesting. Wow, this is very dimensional. There are so many dimensions, ladies. We can't touch them all. I can't stress enough that just going in, and if you haven't downloaded Kajabi on your phone app, download it, because then what you can do is you can just listen to the energy of the letters and just, you can put it, we have the audios in there. You don't have to watch the video. You can hit the audio and just listen to not only the history of this letter, you're going to hear the dimension, but you're going to hear the energy. You're going to hear about where's Yeshua in this letter. And Crystal and I have talked about this a lot lately, but a lot of times we're so worried in our movement, in the way, we're so worried about, oh my gosh, we're not bringing enough New Testament. We're not talking about Jesus enough. We're not talking about Yeshua enough. Can I just really encourage you in that whenever we're talking about Torah, we're talking about Yeshua, because he is HaTorah, the word become flesh, the Torah become flesh and tabernacling among us. When we talk about the Torah, we are talking about him. We're we're not minimizing anything, but I just want to encourage you that if you felt like this weird thing, because I did at a time, kind of felt like, ooh, I feel like I'm out of balance. There's not a balance. I'm learning Torah. If I just learn the letters, I'm learning him. I think Crystal shared this last time. Everything else is commentary. We learn these letters, and we're going to see him. We see him as the door. We see him as the Gimel. We see him then as the Father. We see him coming down to bring salvation and bringing revelation to us. We're going to see it all the way through. We saw the first week when we saw, if he says he's the Aleph and the Tav. Remember, we saw the Aleph and the Tav right in the middle of that first week of creation, that first line of Torah. He's the Aleph and the Tav. He's right there. He's saying, I was there. He was the lamb slain before the foundations of the earth. He's always been here. So as we learn each of these letters, I want to encourage you to go in. I want to encourage you then to pray and ask him to enlarge your heart, so that when you're reading in 119, when you're reading these sections, or maybe you're reading another area, like you're back over. I didn't even go into Lauren's book this week of the strength of a woman. When she'll talk about these letters, go in and look at those things. Ask him to enlarge your heart so that you can receive more about not only 119, but about his letters, how you can see how the two merge. Because we have a limited understanding, because we have English understanding, we have an Eastern understanding, a Western understanding. What does this mean? I don't get it, because it's a poem, it's something written in a different language during a time we didn't live. And we're like, what does Dalet have to do with it? I hope you've had a glimpse today of seeing how the Dalet was about him wanting his heart enlarged, about him wanting to bring redemption to his situation. And I hope that you and receive the gifts of the Holy One, empty himself out and receive the gifts of the Holy One that were coming to him and humbling himself. I think that was kind of the overview of this time. So be blessed. I'm excited. I'm a Father. I just thank you that you are just searing this into our hearts. I thank you that you are broadening our territories of our hearts. The stakes of our tents of our hearts are being extended and expanded so that we can receive more of who you are. But first, I just ask that you empty us all out of our ways, of our thoughts, of our plans, of our transgressions, where we've missed the mark, that you've just forgive us of those things and restore us. And thank you, Father, then when you do expand us now, that you fill us full of your goodness. You teach us how to understand your ways. We just love you for that. Amen. I'm going to actually read through, I want to read through our prayer before we close for Dalet. Thanks again to Amanda for putting this together for us. And again, praying in the word over yourself, highly recommend, and you can again download this. It's in the first week we have these downloaded. Oh Father, may our souls no longer cling to the dust. May we be revived according to your word. May we tell of your ways and know that you answer us. May we learn your statutes. May we discern your way of your precepts so that we may meditate on your wonders, and may our souls no longer weep with grief. May we be made to stand firm in your word. May we be turned away from the deceitful way and receive grace with your Torah. May we choose the way of faithfulness, and may we set our hearts on your judgments. May we cling to your testimonies. Oh, and may we not be put to shame. May we run the course of your commandments, and may our hearts be opened wide. Amen. Blessings.